Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday edition live question and answer session on living in Utah. I hold this every week at the exact same time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and you're welcome to ask any kind of question that you may have. Real estate, state of Utah, maybe even the United States. We do get people join us from all over the world. So if you do have questions about the United States, I'll do my very best to answer those questions also. Last week, we kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. It ended up going an hour and 20 minutes. So it's just an open forum. Just sitting here like, what do you call it? Fireside chat. There you go. There's a name for it. Just a fireside chat. So I really enjoy doing these events. I love the state of Utah. I love where I live. And if I can share any kind of knowledge with anyone else out there, I would be glad to do that. We're joined by David this evening. And David is a mortgage representative. So if you have any kind of mortgage related questions, by all means, shoot them in the chat box and we will let David answer the questions. So by all means, yeah, mortgage questions, no problem. All right. It's the best night of the week. Tell us about Pioneer Days in Ogden. Okay. So every city does stuff for Pioneer Days. I kind of feel that the largest Pioneer Day parades and events are in Salt Lake City. But Ogden does do some. I believe they do a rodeo. Sometimes they'll do demolition derby. Sometimes I've seen monster truck shows. It's a variety of things. Last year, as far as I know, nearly all the Pioneer Day parades got canceled due to COVID. This year, I haven't heard a lot about what's going on. So I'm assuming that as we're opening up in the state of Utah, events will occur. So yeah, the governor has issued a temporary day of April the 10th of lifting the mask mandate. And as we approach that date, it seems to be sticking apart from Salt Lake City, not Salt Lake County, but I believe Salt Lake City is going to keep the mask mandate. So masks will be required in Salt Lake City. There's some other counties and cities that are also thinking about, what they're going to do about the mask mandate. But it seems as if the state is pretty much opening up. So I think Pioneer Day will continue, parades, rodeos, et cetera, et cetera. So should be a great time. Great time. It's a great time to see things open back up. So I was actually just talking to somebody who is in the monster truck business. They do the crushing cars. He's actually local here in Utah. And right now his equipment is in Baltimore, Maryland. A lot of states have done these drive-through exhibits, and he's been doing that. But he's bringing the equipment back here because he is booked May, June, and July. States like Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Nevada is not open. But South Dakota, some of the states around here, he's got shows booked about every weekend. So it's good to see. He was pretty much out of business for a whole year in a sense with the COVID. So it was good to hear some positive news. They did do these drive-through events. They were in Southern California. And so they would put them all on display and people would drive their cars through. And they moved them to Atlanta. And now they're up to Baltimore, Maryland. And I think they're going back to California, but he's not going back to California. He's got shows booked. So it's good to see the country opening back up, in my opinion. So, and I just had a good friend of mine. He's in Mexico right now. So he left on Sunday. So people are traveling. Okay. Post your questions. And just once again, we do have David on tonight. So if you have any kind of mortgage related questions, by all means, shoot David or post in a thing and we'll give David a question. I do have a question for you, David. The Biden administration, when they were running for president, they made an announcement that they were going to try to help more Americans become homeowners. And I was wondering if you have heard anything more along those lines of what their plans were to accomplish this goal. So, and I have another question for you, David. I'm full of questions this evening. This is a plan that is being talked about by President Biden. When we're talking about mortgage relief, mortgage forbearance, he is putting together a plan that they will allow you to take the payments that you owe, refinance the whole loan into a new 40-year mortgage. 40-year mortgage. How do you feel, David, that would affect the mortgage industry? And so my take on it would be that that would be a very, very big bailout that if that was to pass. So it's being talked about at the current moment as one of the plans that they're looking at doing. So if you have any insight, David, great to have some other insight of what you feel may go on. So as far as Utah this week, we have had a mixed bag of weather. We had some very, very beautiful weekend, about 78-degree temperatures, sunshine, and can go outside and do just about everything. And then we had a storm front come in at the beginning of the week. Temperatures dropped. Matter of fact, on the valley floor down here, we were seeing a rain and snow mixture, and the mountains got pummeled with snow. Ski resorts got quite a bit of snow. The weather is changing now, and our temperatures are rising. So, all right. I do have some other things, too. There was a report brought out, a national report, and it's a 2021 top 10 commercial real estate markets. And this has an impact, is where commercial business is going or expanding means jobs, which means growth, and growth in the home market for people like me. So the 10 top cities, and of course Utah is on the list. That's how I ended up with the report. Would be the Austin area of Texas, Fort Myers, Florida, Charleston and North Charleston, South Carolina, Las Vegas and Henderson in Nevada, Nashville, Tennessee, the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, Raleigh, North Carolina, Salt Lake City, the Seattle, Tacoma area in Washington, and Tucson, Arizona. And when I picture all that in my mind, I'm thinking it's almost divided across the United States. Pretty much some West Coast cities, Texas, and then the southeast part of the country. So interesting. I find it very fascinating that we still are having a lot of commercial growth, which means companies moving here and means more people potentially will move here for the jobs that are produced. David has an answer to some of my questions. We haven't heard much on the actual plans that he was speaking about on the campaign trail. As for the bailout, we would most likely see rates push up with inflation due to that. Taxes would go up as well to pay for it, as we know. Yeah, yes. I didn't think about the effect it might have on mortgage rates if we went to the 40-year mortgage. So when I first heard about the plan, what came to my mind was 40-year mortgage, the new norm. That's what I took it as. That pretty much, once you go to that stepping stone, and we saw it with car loans. Car loans used to be 5-year loans, and we went to 6 and 7, and I don't know, we're 8 or 9 now, possibly. But once we start with that 40-year offering, I just feel that it'll open the door for a lot of buyers and everything potentially to be looking at a 40-year mortgage themselves. So, and possibly further years down the road, the 40-year mortgage might be the benchmark, what the quote standard mortgage. Right now, we consider a standard mortgage is a 30-year mortgage. You can get mortgages that are lower, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, etc. Most of the mortgages that are done are 30-year mortgages. So in general, the longer the term, the higher the rate. The inflation it would cause as well would aid in boosting the rates. Well, yes, I agree with you 100% on that, David. I've always felt that typically when we look at history, and that's about all we can look at to predict the future, when we have inflation, interest rates for everything go up, whether it's a car loan, credit card, home loan, you name it. The cost to do business goes up with inflation. And it seems to be that a lot of people in the government right now do not want to talk about inflation. They feel our gross domestic product is going to outweigh any kind of inflation, which, I have my doubts about it. I just saw a post on Facebook today of a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood, 4x8 sheet of plywood was $96 wherever they took the picture. It was at a Home Depot somewhere in the country. And in contrast, I would guess that probably a year ago, 14 months ago, that same sheet was probably $50, $48, probably doubled in price, probably. I know 2x4s have. I was actually looking at 2x4s week and a half ago, $7 for a 2x4. They were about $3, $3.10, $3.25 pre-COVID, somewhere around that area. So, but the commercial growth brings some interesting facts for these particular states. And when I also look at a map like that of where those states are, the real estate market in most of those areas is very, very strong, very strong. When we're talking the Arizona market, they are getting huge influx of people from various states, not just California, some of the northern states. I look at the Florida area and the Carolinas, another area that real estate market is totally on fire. Nashville, Tennessee was one of the hottest markets in the country. Austin, Texas is one of the hottest markets in the country, along with like Boise, Idaho. So, it kind of correlates all in one. So it's really good. Okay, David. The attitude I'm seeing is a very heavy lean towards play now, pay later, which is pretty frightening long term. If you are renting currently, I would recommend considering the numbers between buying and renting long term. Yeah, 100% correct. Yes, 100% correct. It's and the thing that comes to mind, in probably 30 years ago, I would not have had this viewpoint. But in my later years in life, I'm getting closer towards the average retirement age. I've got more working years behind me than in front of me. And you start thinking more along the lines of surviving in retirement. And one of the nice things would be to have a home that is paid off. If you didn't have that, that's most people's largest bill is a home. And I wonder, with a 40-year mortgage, how do you juggle retirement If you're 30 years old, you get a 40 mortgage, put you at 70. If you're 40 years old, put you at the age of 80, et cetera, et cetera. The numbers just keep going. So people that are around the retirement age, I think probably one of the biggest things that if they could have a paid off home, it definitely would help a lot in retirement. So that's what comes to mind with me with a 40-year mortgage. So, but there's some benefits too. I mean, a lot of people, if you're in the rental industry with rental homes, et cetera, one of the strategies that some people use, they'll collect as many homes as they can, take out mortgages on all of them. And as they're renting them out over the years, they'll keep refinancing them back to 30-year mortgages. Well, maybe if they could get a 40-year, they'd go to a 40-year mortgage. So what they're basically doing is lowering their payment while the rents are increasing. And that particular cash flow is what they're living off, and they will have payments on those properties pretty much forever, but they're increasing their spread between what their mortgage payment is and what their rental rates are. So it's one strategy. It's used in rental to accumulate more and more properties and have more and more properties. So if anybody was new joining us this evening, if you have any kind of mortgage questions or anything along those lines, by all means, ask the questions. David is a mortgage representative, so he works in that field 100% of the time. So, yes. And I'm sure I'll think of more mortgage questions as this evening pops up. So not much else happening in Utah at the current moment. We are pretty much officially into the spring mode. If you're a skiing fan and you love, skiing, now is the time to buy your season passes for next year. It's usually the best deal you will get on a season pass right now. I actually just saw an advertisement come across my Facebook page about Snow Basin. You have until like April the 14th, and they are going to raise the rates at that particular point. David, what's your opinion on the Daybreak community? You might have missed one of my live question answers there, David. There a few weeks ago, we were talking a little bit about the Daybreak. So the Daybreak community has had a lot of controversy, a lot of lawsuits out there. I would recommend Googling Daybreak community lawsuits, also on YouTube. Some of the local TV stations have run reports about the Daybreak community and let you form your own opinion based off of those facts that you read on the internet and you can watch on YouTube videos that are out there about the Daybreak community. What I know about the Daybreak community, I hear from one side of the story, from other contractors or other real estate agents. So for me to comment on it, I don't hear both sides of the story sometimes. So I'll let you do your own Google search and you will find articles on the Daybreak community. It's been talked about many, many times in Utah. And there may even be a Facebook group on it. I'm not too sure, but I know the local news stations have covered it over the years. So there is some local stations who have gone in depth and reported on some of them. So that would be my recommendation, is to Google that and then form your own opinion on what was going on out there. So that'd be the very best. Since we kind of like have a third party, we can, but yeah, it's been struck with some controversy for a little bit. Not much else really going on in Utah. Like I say, we're the state's trying to open up as far as like the virus numbers. We are running numbers that are 500 cases per day and lower on pretty much on an average for the week. We've been kind of like staying. I've read at where our neighboring state of Colorado is on a rise, and some other states around the country that are on a rise. So the state of Utah, I believe we just had a number out. We have 1 million residents that have received the COVID shot, at least one shot. Not too sure how many people have received both, but the shots are available, and they do an excellent job too. I commend the governor on his actions that he has done. I think that I've had the shot, and the facility that I went to was a drive-through facility, and I thought it was run 100%. You couldn't run it any better. So literally once you got, I think I total of about 5 minutes driving by the time I got my paperwork checked to driving in the building to shutting my car off, getting the shot, and then going outside. It was a total of about 5 minutes. Very, very well run. Very, very well run. And then they leave you park outside, and they've got EMTs outside. They've got employees that are walking up and down, asking if you're okay. Do you have any side effects? And if you honk your horn, the EMTs will come straight over, give you some medical assistance. Fascinating setup. Absolutely. I think it's just an amazing job they've done. So they employed the National Guard there, some guard duty members, to help with some of the traffic flow, parking, getting people in and out of the building, et cetera, get vehicles going smoothly. Well run facility. Very well run. So the people who put that together, I have to give them a very big hand. I don't know how it's going in other states, but that's how we are doing it in Utah. I think it's a great system. So 100%. How long do I have to work in the state of Utah to get approved for a house? Great question. And you're very lucky tonight. I actually have a mortgage rep right here tonight, and David will gladly answer that question. And I actually have my own answer, and it's probably going to be the exact same as David's, but I will let David take that question. Yeah, so that's about what we've got going on in Utah right at the moment. And if you do need some further assistance on the approval process on a mortgage or anything like that, David will also leave his phone number and email. So you're welcome to reach out to him personally if you would like to find out some more information. His answer to that question was, I'm not aware of any restrictions at this time. And that was going to be my answer also. Mortgage companies can work with you. I've seen where, if you're employed in another state and you're taking a job in this state, you've already got the jobs lined up. They can get letters from your new employer, and also you'll have documents from your previous employer that they can work through and get approvals taken care of. So I think the only time it might be a little bit different is if you're currently employed in another state and you move here and you don't have employment already set up or a contract, et cetera, then it's going to be, it might be a little more difficult. But David does not recognize any restrictions also. So great. Any more questions this evening? It's a quiet evening this time. Hour and 20 minutes last week. Okay, another response from Dave. Exactly. We basically just need to show that the income is going to continue. Yes, and that would be done by your current W-2s and your new employer. And I believe David would ask for some kind of documentation from your new employer that's basically stating in your pay, et cetera, and when you're starting work, and that you actually have accepted a position or they have accepted you for a position. some of the documents along those lines is what somebody like David would need. If you do have a question on that, or it's a particular company or something like that, shoot David an email or a text or a call, and he can definitely dig into it a little bit further for you by all means. And David will throw up his phone number and email address for you also on the screen to take down. If you have any questions in the future, by all means too, you can reach out to him. And by chance, if you are in the California market, then if you're currently in the California market or something and you wanted to get some information through there, David knows the California market also. So besides Utah, he also knows the California and can assist you with questions through that. Great. Any more questions on the state of Utah, real estate, anything you might have? What's going on in the world? Politics? Who knows? We'll be glad to answer them this evening. The outlook in Utah is looking very bright. The future, the summer, a lot of excitement around the state. The skiing industry this year, with everything going on with COVID, what I'm hearing from people who work at some of the ski resorts, that it was a successful year. They are happy with how it was handled, managed, profitability-wise, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the state is gearing up for a very, very big summer with the national parks and the state parks that we have. Right now in the United States, if you try to book a car rental, it is very high demand and prices have increased a lot. I'm hearing that a lot of people aren't feeling as comfortable with flying, so their vacations during the summer month, they're looking at driving. So rental cars are in high demand. And my brother is actually heading out next weekend to Las Vegas to the races. And his rental rates were pretty high for a car, and he was just up there today, and cars are very, very thin. So yes, it's already a little bit of crunch on rental cars. So I think that the tourist industry in Utah for the summer months here is going to be great for business, great for the state of Utah. So don't see much slowing it down unless we have some kind of massive surge with the virus that they can't control, but we should be back to normal. Okay, any more questions before we wrap it up for this evening? Well, I'll be back again in 1 week's time. It's been a pleasure. Hope everybody out there will take care and stay safe. Thank you.